Hello, everyone. Welcome back because we're here on game 2. This one's I'm really excited for. We got Team In the Trees versus Team Blue Bayou Zoo. Two very established teams that I'm kind of wondering what happened with their footing, but really powerful players. So I'm excited to see how they shake up in today's matchups. Of course, once again, I am Therocles and I'm back with Chris Edgeworth. Chris Edgeworth, what do you think about this?
I'm excited to see. Are we? I thought Bo was traveling. Is Bo in for sure? Is that we know that that's true? I might be mistaken. I'm not sure if he is traveling or not, but I vaguely remember that. Either way, for sure, gotta love. Shouts out to Bo. Known him a long time, so I'd like to see Bo. We know the classic Bo Sejuani, not banned, so we could see him make an appearance here. But we do get the Rel, which is pretty nuts on this patch. Get locked in. The answer for the other side for Blue Bayou Zoo is the Alistair and the Ezreal. I'm not really sure what is happening today, where we're getting this very random Alistair priority. I like Alistair as a champ, fine, but I don't think it's particularly excellent. I see the appeal for countering the Rel engage, per se. But, you know, I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. Not necessarily always, or commonly paired with the Ezreal. They are going to answer with completing the bot lane for In the Trees. They're going to round this out with the Caitlyn, so we know what's happening on the bot side of the map. It will be interesting to see what each team prioritizes before we head into the second half of the ban phase.
Yeah, I like your points. I especially looking at the way INT is banned. You know, they've targeted Jaffy's Gangplank and of course Dax's Kindred as well as Jarvan. So really trying to pinch this top side. I think that's saying a lot that they're pretty confident in the lower part of the map. Evolved Noob not here, so Broccoli stepping into the mid lane, and of course Hog Trappist, their substitute coming in, Fish Mingish coming from top. So trying to release some of that pressure. Bo, I think, and Fish and Broccoli, they're all pretty tight knit, you know, pretty regular, or at least Fish was in a lot of the previous season as well. So I'm kind of excited to see how these three can kind of work together and see if they can claw their way into, you know, mid game. On the flip side, you know, BBZ's Fireman taking up Yone potentially. Could be a Jaffe thing still potentially, but especially because I think we've seen Fireman play things like Annie and Syndra, if I'm not mistaken. So that might, the more I say it out loud, I think it's going to be going more towards Jaffe, if anything.
Yeah, I think so too. But you never know. They do ban the Ivern out for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. Ivern is another champion that got recently adjusted, is tearing up solo queue right now. Rek'Sai, another strong jungle champion. So either way, the two very flexible picks for the side of In the Trees and Blue Bayou Zoo. So there's just a lot of poking at the outskirts here of what they want to take away, since they both have still a fair bit of opportunities to switch things up here with where they want to put those champions. So the Olaf does get banned out, another jungle ban, as we see the Sejuani and many junglers getting covered here for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. Shouts out to Bo with the Sejuani. They could be stealing it from him, but it looks like the Gragas is what they're switching to. Gives them another champion for this Rel that they can knock them away from the engage. But as they switch over to the Lilia. Okay, so as I was about to say, does give Sylas a very strong ultimate to steal. So The Lilia sleep, not as easy to pull off with Silas, but Lilia, another champion I've been waiting to see more of. We have seen it in certain eras being played in mid lane in here in friend or foe. So technically, we are still flexing on Blue Bayou Zoo as they do round out with some very rote champions inside of In the Trees, very commonplace champions with the Renekton and the Annie coming through. As we see the hover over the top laners here, which seems to indicate to me that this Lilia is supposed to be the jungler. So that is all well and good. What are they going to decide here for Jaffe? Give him a carry as well. Pardon me for that. As it looks like the lock-in of the Fiora at the very last minute. So they have two very aggressive AD mid laners with the AP jungler. As this is going to round out both these compositions. I'm curious what you're thinking, Theracles, about which of these compositions you're liking better.
It's very hard to say. I think Blue Bayou Zoo got a lot of the things they like to play the most. I would love to see Jaffe kind of pop off. I don't know if we've seen too much of Dex on this Lilia and Fire Mana. Switching it up from those mage types to this young could be very exciting. So I'm excited to see how that kind of shapes up. And Rock Lee definitely played Silas between mid and top quite a bit. He's the Renekton going to Fish McGish is pretty a staple top, but he can kind of hang out on his own. And a pretty strong bot lane in the trees. I think for that reason, I would like to see INT pick up their first win if they can get their sub synergy going. So with that, that'll be my guess. What about for you?
Certainly, In the Trees has the more honest composition. Has a lot of abilities to get a lot of CC as we see things gets paused here at level 1. But the one thing I wanted to point out is the BBZ's comp is just fun. Like, I want
It
to
does
see.
look very fun. Yeah.
One thing we didn't even touch on is the Silas is the jungler for Bow Explode in this. That totally went past me as I was trying to figure out the puzzle that they had put together on the side of BBZ. BBZ's comp is very fun, but I would also say it's very execution heavy. Any number of easy to make mistakes in the early game can put them in a very disadvantageous spot as you get into the mid game. So it's going to be very incumbent on BBZ to play to their win conditions, play smart, and not let In the Trees get ahead of them early, because once that happens, I think that they have all of the tools in their toolbox for In the Trees to pick up their first win.
Yeah, I would agree. Part of INT too, they're gonna have I think a difficult time trying to get to the targets they want to. Uh, particularly with Rel trying to do an engage between the Alistair and the slow Lilia and Red being able to kite back pretty strong. So I'm excited to see how they kind of navigate these team fights. But if anything, I think INT have been pretty well known for their ability to work together in team fights. Um, so I'm excited to see how that kind of shapes up. Looking at the early game, where do you think most of the action is going to come from?
Well, with the power of the reworked Rel, I'd be interested to see if they do a little bit of early scrapping on this bot side. Don't expect the junglers to get involved really on this lane. Would be interesting to see if one or the other tries to get the advantage. You can't get the poke from Red as Ezreal, but I'm gonna have to guess here is level 1.
Yeah, a little bit of cheese coming through. I don't think we're gonna find anyone, dying here, but a good amount of damage straight onto Hugh Slops is gonna force probably an early potion at best. And it looks like the top laners are pretty happy to just keep trading back and forth as well. So
And yeah, with I would guess that our first blood is going to come out of the top lane. That's where I would put my wager, as I might already be wrong.
just knocked up a lot of small trading. Two has come through for BBZ, so they're gonna be forced to run away. Just Arcane shifting forward is gonna push Hugh Slops back, but again, nothing crazy yet. Despite that, I'm still thinking it's gonna be top lane. Hashtag Jaffe things.
Yeah, I mean Fioras. Every time I play with the Fiora in solo queue, they're usually psychos. They usually are just perma trading, permanently pushing forward. They're past the river. Lilia just shows up for a second to sort of see what's up, but nothing's really going to happen here. The one thing I would point out for Renekton here is that he does, if he gets pushed in, he has the advantage of being able to hide the Vital in the wall. for a certain portion of the area towards his turret. So if things start to go bad for Fish, there is the cower and hide option. Right now they're just trading back and forth.
But root stun does come through. Slice nice goes across. Both are trekking very low. Fish McGish forced to flash away. Jaffe follows and picks up first blood.
Hey, we knew it. Easy. When you're just intelligent like us, Theracles, you just know.
That's right. It's the caster buff for us, really. Just a classic FOF member diff. So
Exactly. Yeah. So mostly people, complain about the caster curse. I like to think that we gave Jaffe the caster buff there.
that's right. We know how this plays out. Jacob Dudar still playing forward. Everyone kind of like healed up for the most part. Jungles are just kind of resetting back and forth. Silas making his way up here. Might be looking for a bit of a lane gank, if anything. But we'll see what Bo's got planned.
Yeah, and so far, junglers have been mostly quiet, other than Lilia sort of poking up in the top side. We see Silas just sort of a cheeky little look in the lane here in case Jaffe gets a little over ambitious with the wave state where it's at right now. But he's going to complete that recall, I would imagine, and then just get back up.
But Dax on the side here is going to force a flash from Brock Lee. And even though not a lot of damage, he is happy to take a flash and kind of go back to his jungle. So, doing pretty good. Rel's looking for an engage, kind of trade back and forth, stun, damage, playing this mid bush, and I was excited for nothing. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, how dare you? Yeah, but good stuff.
Oh, I was kidding. It was the big brain. He splash jumps in, forcing the flash from Jacob Dudar. Champion Red kiting backwards. Caliber net does more damage, and I got you again. Haha. Anyway.
So now we're at the part of the matchup where Renekton has to live in fear, because the Fiora went back for the Sheen. This shit is annoying, pardon my language, but it is just so brutal with this early game Fiora. I'm gonna have to deal with the Sheen procs on every Q. Like I said, your best hope in this lane is just to hide your proc either in the turret or in the wall. Jaffe just being a little cheeky there, getting under the turret, getting some farm, and getting some poke in. But we're seeing the Lilia is going to reset now after getting some vision up towards the top side of the map. It lets Fiora know whether or not they should be expecting Bo to come around the corner. So that's very good, allowing Jaffe to play aggressive and force the issue in this matchup that he's winning. Still kind of quiet in the early, they do have the flash that they forced out of Brock Lee, a little bit of trading here, but I think it's just a little bit of poke here and there as they trade and push the wave back and forth. There's still an opportunity for a few more minutes where Dax can come back here and push the issue. You could even see Jacob possibly on a reset come mid and try and force this issue. But we'll have to see if that happens right now. Still just a 1k gold lead, all things told, as the bot lane has a little bit more CS on the side of BBZ, but overall is still minuscule as we see Dax here for the gank.
That's true. Fire Mana is here on the side too, trying to catch up. Is going to find an early stun and only some autos traded, forcing Dax back into the jungle. So Mo's going to go, but Jaffe finds himself face to face with Bo, proccing the ultimate, trading a lot of damage. Riposte comes through as he runs away and taking the ultimate away from Jaffe. Bo is going to stay. He's sitting on a ward and just kidding. All right, he backs off. We're going to go ahead and be happy with what we got today.
Yeah, the unlucky just sort of gets face checks the bush and finds a Fiora for his troubles. So we're gonna be forced into the back. But overall, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And Bo just gonna find out, okay, so Jaffe definitely can kill me. I need to get level 6 before I can even look at this guy, be on the same screen as him. But I think that they're gonna have to start answering that question pretty soon, because as we get later into the game here, there's gonna be the opportunity for BBZ to stand up at these objectives and sort of let Jaffe do Jaffe things on the side lane. And that's the point where it's going to come down to whether or not In the Trees can use their buttons well. Like we were talking about earlier, they have the buttons, so to speak, in their composition. They have the tools, the CC, to do things. The problem is of course that the side of BBZ does have the more volatile champions. They have the much more aggressive plays, and if they're able to play this aggressive play style and get away with it and get the kills without taking too much grief in return, in the trees is going to be looking down the barrel of 2 winless weeks. So I hope that as we start to get the ultimates online across the board here, as we get ready for this first dragon, still sitting here, still waiting. We do have the Herald up as well. We're going to have to see how these teams play around each other and sort of what their priorities are as we get towards the mid game.
And Ilya's gonna come face to face, with Fire Mana to back him up. We could see a little bit of scrapping here as Bo is starting to look around. He is gonna be headed that way towards the blue. It's probably gonna be there too late to do anything about. That's okay. I kind of like how you were talking about, the ability of BBZ to stand up to these trades. But, Jaffe taking a good amount of damage, and Force of Flash from Fish McGish is going to be good. They're going to be able to take that and kind of play around with that with the next objective as they'd like. But again, about that BBZ standing up, they are doing pretty well in their fundamentals here with their lane state. They are able to find pretty much every lane in some type of CS lead between 10 to 20 per player. So being able to pick up a small silent gold lead that way is probably going to be able to transition to a quickly early item, and if they can really kind of take that advantage into the first objective, they can find a way to really just kind of set the pace for the rest of the game from there if they would like.
So we see Dax is over here covering this. We have Bo Explode coming up. It'll be interesting to see if the two junglers just ignore each other's presence, as Dax, it looks like, is still hanging out for this play. Bo is going down bottom. A little bit of trading, but I don't think that Fish is going to be able to get much there. Still on the bot side, though, we have the Rel and Alistair matchup. Haven't really gotten any insane Ws from either of them yet, so we're still waiting to see if this lane explodes in any fashion. Right now, I think they're just content to get their farming done. As we see Fire Mana trade a little bit with the Bo Explode before he snaps back. And Dax is still up here on the top side.
Yeah, definitely committing all the time is kind of come through. Fish does step too far forward, is going to go ahead and commit the drowsy, so force the ultimate out of here. Tank stats are up. Jaffe diving in, committing the ultimate as well. Riposte comes through. A lot of damage trade back and forth, and we're going to find ourselves some alligator shoes for our trouble. Jaffe picks up a second kill of the game.
One thing I really liked there was the poise on Jaffe for the sleep. One of the most annoying things as we see this trade here is when you hit those sleeps and someone wakes them up like immediately, and it's like, hey guys, you just wait a second, we can position a little better before we start hitting these guys. They're asleep. Like, we can move around, it's fine. And I liked, so for the Fiora, able to get a little bit closer, made sure he was in position to be able to get the quick Q into Vital Proc, dash around the corner, so able to make sure that Renekton is not able to get away under the tower with a sliver of health. Very smart plays. This is going to put the Fiora up 2-0, and I guess this back is going to be the Essence Reaver, as we see that Bo has secured the first dragon. That's going to take away the Ocean Rift likelihood, and also going to seal away the Cloud Soul, as we see our second dragon is going to be that Cloud Dragon. So, in the end, oh, here we go. Now he's backing for it. Okay, I was going to say, he didn't have enough gold, but he waited to farm that wave. So we're going to see Jaffe go back, complete, not the Essence Reaver, my bad, the Divine Thunder. It's gonna be a horror show pretty soon in this top lane here. Fish McGish is gonna be really feeling it, as Jaffe will be able to split push with near impunity. I'm not even really sure at this point in the game that unless they get Annie up there to just sort of dump the full combo on the Fiora, I'm not really sure that even a gank from Bo Explode is really going to do all that much. So they're going to really have to start figuring out what they're going to do about this Fiora as we get into the mid-game.
Yeah, and kind of diving forward, they're not able to find any kind of solid engage quite yet. We are going to have Jaffe, having Fish McGish feel some of this pressure that we talked about here, taking half health. The ultimate challenge is used. Dax here in the win as well. Fish McGish finds himself ganked once again for his third death of the game, unfortunately. And Jaffe's happy to cash those bags all the way to the bank.
Yeah, and do want to highlight in that play, Fish's dot taking this line down, as we see trade here.
Yeah, and Rel's before actually hit back in a tower, traded some tower damage, gets the second root. Red Fort putting out DPS as game, standing too tanky. Rocklear does have Annie. Flash ultimate does come through. Teleport coming from Jaffe or Fireman to follow up. We do find 1 kill onto Jacob Dudar. A lot of damage trade onto He Who Slops, and I think it's going to be an even trade for 1-1. As members kind of go back into the jungle, trying to see if they are going to follow. Red steps forward, but dodges that. Bow Explode gets a couple stuns off onto Fire Mana. Caitlyn Ultimate's blocked by Red, and we see the members are not willing to give us up as they all chase together. And Fireman gets a huge ultimate knock-up together, and that's going to send them scrambling. Trade another 1-for-1.
I like it. I respect it. I think that it was a little slow for them to realize that they actually could get under the tower because they still had the minion wave there, and it was sort of like watching both of them realize at the exact same time, because then that was when BBZ started clearing out the wave. Fire Mana hits the nasty, Fate Sealed, the ultimate across them. It's still not enough to end. He's able to get a kill back though. Has the Storm Razor completed now, so we are seeing, that there are some signs of life here for In the Trees. But they're going to have to string together a couple more of these plays and get them a little bit more in the positive direction if they want to get fully back on track.
Oh, I thought it was going to be way more exciting. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so Fish, Bagish, and Dax just say a little what's up. Throws a bowling ball over his shoulder for his troubles and goes back to clear his golems. Meanwhile, Fish gonna push that wave in and get it back in himself. Hopefully, this guy is going to complete some item out of the garage sale. Oh no, it's just a long sword. You hate to see it.
Bo is here, gonna follow with the ultimate from Fire Mana, does back, it misses the ultimate, steps forward, is gonna lock up and kill Brock Lee in the damage, and is gonna send members flying. Ultimate comes through, finds Bo Explode asleep, but it's gonna trade back. Dax is taken very low. Fire Mana is in the chasing in the bottom side of the river. Members of bot lane aren't able to respond. Fire Mana uses the E to dash forward, trades some more damage. Flash! Gets the knock on a Dax and trades himself a kill, sends Fire Mana back to his lane. Ezreal comes through, not enough to kill and quite misses. But that was exciting. That was really well done by Bo.
Yeah, this is really good. Oh, they're still they want this guy. They're in it for the booty. Yeah, it's really good. We're getting some gold flowing. We're disrupting the flow of the game here in the trees again, showing some more signs of life. While that was all happening, though, Fiora was just pushing this Renekton down to the ground. So now the next question will be, as we see the next second dragon of the game coming up in 30 seconds, how are they going to navigate this mid-game transition? I know I've brought it up. This is the third time now, but I haven't seen a lot of efforts made in trying to put down Jaffe, and I think the problem with that is there will soon reach a point where he cannot be dealt with without the bulk of the team. Before Jaffe gets too many of these items online. Right now he's just got the Divine Sunderer, is still relatively squishy if you are able to burst him, because a lot of the healing comes through from the Divine Sunderer.
Gets stopped by the Alistair ultimate, and it's going to be taking quite a bit of damage. The members of INT are trying to follow up. Jacob Dudar surviving very long. Damage traded back. Fireman gets 3 people into the back line. Members are scattered. Alistair taken very low. Bow Explodes taken down. Members are falling left and right as INT is scattered. Finds himself 3 deaths, and I think that means BBZ are happy to pick up this dragon.
And it's a triple kill going on to Jaffe. Honestly, it wasn't gonna get any better. I guess, in a sense, it's quote unquote good for In the Trees that all the kills went on to one person that was already fed, and it's like, how much more fed are they gonna get? At this point, like, we're gonna have to target Jaffe with all of your CC anyway. So it's better that the gold's not spread out to other members of the team. It's gonna stop the bag. Oh no.
Fish. Like a fish in a barrel trying to play the alcove. Jaffe's just playing with his food. Finds 2 vital procs, and sure enough, Fish gets the slice and dice away. But you're running the wrong way, bud. Jaffe's happy to follow, picks up another vital proc, and Fish is taken down once again.
To quote the great caster Kitty from LPL, it's a disaster, mate. It's looking rough for your boys in blue out here for In the Trees. Like we were saying earlier, I mean, this is like the BBZ does have the fun comp, you know, like let's be real, like these are the pop-off champions. But they're standing pretty unopposed, you know, right now. They are getting everything's coming up aces for them. The split push Fiora has the Ravenous Hydra online. Waves will fall before her, like reaping the grass. Um, and then we will have, you know, the second item will be coming through for the Yone relatively soon as well. Quietly 2-1 and 5 out of the mid lane. We've been really talking about Jaffe a lot, but Fire Mana has been very huge in a couple of
Absolutely.
these later team fights here, as well as the farming. So just really putting himself into a great position with the gold lead. Has the BF sword for this next scuffle, as you know, we will be working towards that Cloud Soul. And at the rate this game is going, at this point, you just gotta hope if you're in the trees that you drag this game out to a point where you can reach some sort of item parity. You have the better tools in your toolbox as we trade here.
Yeah, Rel's taking quite a bit of damage, but is more than happy to sustain through that. Jacob Dudar, however, finds himself way too overextended. INT's happy to pick up a kill for their troubles, trying to put a 5v4 state on BBZ and kind of make them play back and reassess what they're going to do. And with that, this might give Jaffe some space to have to pull some numbers from him to try something else.
Observer, can we get a switch over to the gold view for a second, if you wouldn't mind? So just to do a little check here, so this is like about 6K. So 3K of this gold lead, of which the gold lead is about 6,000. Half of it's just straight up on Jaffe. So, like, when you look at the gold lead, it's not as entirely smothering as we see Trade.
Nice coming through, and Ultimate Forest, Fireman is finding himself in a 2v1 situation. Rel does miss the land, and Fireman once again getting a double ultimate, but also Bow Explode here. Flash, Forest, two members of BBZ are here. Dax is really trying to push the Bow Explode back. Champion Red is all able to follow up, get some more peppering damage. Bow Explode's taken low and finds himself killed. Kayla Ultimate comes through to trade back, and then we find ourselves Dax with 2v1 on the side here. Members of Fireman trying to re-engage on the side. Dax picks up his Fish McGish, and members of INT are trying to struggle to find themselves together. Jacob Dudar here is interrupt. Dax is forced to run away and only CC'd back and forth. Jacob Dudar is going to get the ignite on Brock Lee, who's running away. Meanwhile, down here, Fireman has picked up yet another kill for what looked like a disaster for him. And he who slops is on blue side, but is running to red towers and is going to have a very hard time trying to back. And I don't
meanwhile,
know who cares.
Meanwhile, Jaffe can't be stopped, won't be stopped. Just gonna be split pushing here in the bot side. It looked good overall at the start there, as we see Bo do a little bit of trading here. You know, get some gold in the pockets, you know, just bloody their nose a little bit, but the play went on a little bit too long. Like Jaffe was able to just sort of split push unopposed, and they bled a little bit too much for it. So I like the scrappiness. I still think that they're not at the point where they want to be largely contesting them. If anything, they should be trying to, you know, shut down Jaffe and let the rest of them farm to some kind of parity while they have this little bit of gap. Getting ready for the dragon. I don't think that they should even show their face for this dragon. I think you just push waves, get your minions farmed, get some more items under your belt for a time when you can actually stand a little bit better toe-to-toe with them. Because overall, if you look at the side of BBZ, they are relatively squishy, with the exception of the Alistair, which has the ultimate. But overall, a lot of these champions don't build a ton of health. Of course, the Fiora will get that extra little bit of health from some of the health crystals, ruby crystals rather, in her build, as well as the procs from the Grasp of the Undying. But that's sort of negligible. A lot of hers is the drain tanking, as we see
Grand challenge
here.
comes out, and Fishman Gifts finds himself in a duel here with Jaffe once again, trying to hide his last vital proc into the side, and it's just really just counting down the time. Jaffe still finds the riposte and trying to heal up. Fishman Gifts taken very low, and with that, Jaffe has once again repeated the last 4 plays that we saw.
Yep. So it happens. He does finally have the Gore Drinker. It was good to see him with the foresight to... Oh, Bow Explode. What are you doing, buddy?
We've seen Bo do this so many times this game, where he just walks past people in this weird thing, and for once, BBZ have decided to punish that. So I'm honestly just surprised that's the first time that's happened.
Guys, aren't we all red team? Like, come on, why are you hitting me, bro?
I thought we were friends. You remember the captain's draft? I thought we had something, really.
Well, meanwhile, with the jungler off the map, this is just the freest Baron ever. They're just going to clear it out just before 23 minutes. They're all going to be wearing purple. They're going to back, spend some gold. Let's see if there's any more item completions that come through. So, looks like, is that Shojin just get fully completed there? Damn. So, Shojin for Jaffe now. Um, oof.
When you
Oof
own the
is what I
bank,
have
I
to
guess
say.
you can just do that, you know?
Yeah, seriously.
You know, and of course, Jaffe's just been absolute menace on the map, but you know, INT
It's
has been
5K now.
yeah, INT's really been trying to be proactive making plays, and that's not a stranger to something to, but really Fireman has stopped him every time, right? The bottom tower dive, that was Fireman. The second dragon fight, Fireman got double knockup, and again, all members forced him on top, and he was able to survive for so long, and then also come with a double kill on the backside and solo somehow. What is going on here?
I've never in my life seen a Yone peel as much as this one has.
Grand challenge coming out for Jaffe, and also for the back by Silence. They decide to trade that as three members are committed, and Jaffe's fine to just walk away. Caitlyn taken very low. Dax is trying to find something here, but not quite, as they're not able to find a kill, but are able to send members of INT back to their base, and the siege continues on all three sides of INT's base.
I just have to say, I have to soapbox for a second here, so sorry if a fight breaks out, but I just saw where Fiora had her ultimate stolen by Silas, and it's like they both had the grand challenge. Her lock-in quote is, "I long for a worthy opponent," you know? Like, I feel like if you're going to have a grand challenge to be like a fair fight, both players should get the little circle underneath them. Like, that seems pretty fair to me. I'm just saying.
The ultimate, but Rel is going to go ahead and trade back, flash, and try and find something. Silas steals the ultimate from and finds himself in the back line, uses a stopwatch to buy some time. Rel, of course, trying to buy more space. We find one member, Dax, is down. Remember, let's trade on back of Broccoli and he slops. Members of BBZ are able to push some damage. Caitlyn going back, and even though this is a pretty solid fight, oh, just kidding, Caitlyn is finding himself dead. Fish, Magician, Bug Explode have to hold that against the four members of BBZ here to hammer away at the base. I don't know if this is possible. Knocked away, the Nexus is exploding. Lots of damage being traded back and forth. Bug Explode is going to fall. Jaffe is here on the side trying to fight Fish, Magician. He's sent back to his Nexus, and that's game in favor of BBZ.
Yep, well, it was an absolute smothering from BBZ. They never took their foot off the gas pedal. In the trees, they did show signs of life in that game for sure. They tried to make their mark. They tried to claw back, but they just BBZ had a very explosive draft. They had to get off to an early lead, and they were able to pull through and get what they needed to done. In the trees, now left being the final 0-4 at the end of week 2. So as we can see here, just see. Okay, there we go. You're check the sizing on that Zach for the post game menu. But looking at the overall though, we do have, of course, the switch around there for in the trees. They're still gonna getting adjusted there. Getting the broken rel, not good enough. I do have to, of course, scratch the head a little bit for Bo's little, let's say his hiking trips through enemy territory. Those were a little interesting. But in the end, this was a Jaffe diff, a Jaffe gap that ended up being a win for BBZ. We're going to be taking a short break, folks. We'll be back. That's going to be it for Theracles and myself, as we'll be stepping away and transitioning out for our next set of casters. But I will be joining you in just a moment as we interview Firemana, the mid laner from Victorious BBZ, coming up next. All right, folks. Hello, it's Chris Edgeworth here for our second interview tonight, joined this time by Fire Mana, our victorious mid lane Yone from Blue Bayou Zoo. How are you feeling?
Pretty good after that one. I think it feels good to win after having 2 games in a row that were so close, where we just made small mistakes, ended up losing. But having a good stomp like this feels good. Feels nice.
Right on. Well, let's talk a little bit about the game. What we had touched on when we were talking about the draft was that it was a tale of 2 drafts, so to speak. On one side, you had In the Trees draft, which I felt was like pretty closer to what might resemble a meta composition, even though Caitlyn's not really meta right now. Especially with the newly reworked Rel. And then on the other side, you folks were putting together something a little bit more aggressive. It's the likes of putting Jaffe on the Fiora rather, while you in the mid lane were also playing an AD champion in the likes of the Yone. It just has some magic damage. Mostly AD. So talk to me a little bit, if you would, about your folks' thoughts on this draft and what you ended up playing against.
Yeah, so Christian Red, our ADC, puts a lot of agency, puts a lot of focus on drafting bot first because they're very confident in their laning. So we saw the Rel, we saw the Caitlyn, we said, wow, that's a really easy lane to play in. So we just picked the Ezreal Alistar, a very safe lane, we could make plays with it, we could scale up. And then Yone was open, and I don't think people have really gotten to see too much of my Yone yet. They don't respect it the same way that they might respect like Jaffe's Gangplank. So, I was confident in it. I slammed it and went pretty well. They don't have too much. They have a lot of hard CC, but they don't have a lot of, I guess, things that can really get rid of me or deal with that. And we talked about putting Jaffe and Dax on double fighters top, just skirmish a lot, and it works well.
All good, all good. I saw what happened. So anyway, yeah, no, that definitely sounds about right for how that shook up. Let's talk about the game itself, because it's great that you were trusted with the agency to pick what you wanted to pick. But once it got to game time, it was of course the Jaffe show. Talk to me a little bit, if you would. First, if you could talk about just what it felt like to know that you had the top lane pressure there, and how you're able to play around it. But also, if you could talk a little bit on your side, because you were very active yourself with the top side being in a strong position. You were showing your face on the bot side, doing a little bit of a diving, and throughout the game at certain points you're actually peeling off people pretty well with your empowered Q and with your ultimate. So talk to me a little bit, if you could, at the end as well, about your own agency in this game.
Yeah, so we saw Jaffe get the first blood solo kill top, and we pretty much knew that we were going to have top control the whole game after that. So made us a lot more confident in making plays around the map because we knew that Jaffe was just going to keep stomping lane. So that's why I looked with my teleport bot. They were collapsing bot. Looked to teleport there. We knew that they were going to take teleport mid, so I opted out of kill pressure in lane with Ignite, and I went teleport instead. I got control of the lane early, forced Annie to teleport back because she had a really bad reset, had to catch a couple waves with the teleport. So when her and Silas walked bot, made it pretty easy to just teleport down, be there for my team, play out the fight there, pick up a couple kills for myself, trade one back. And about the peeling with Yone, so a lot of Yone players, a lot of the not as good Yone players will go for montage plays, try to 1v5 engage, stuff like that. I'm not immune to it. I think I did it at the end of the game a little bit, but the much more consistent and better way to use Yone in general, I think, is to play secondary engage or to play disengage with your ult and Q3. Suit people up after the fight started and they're not as focused on you, which is typically how I will play out my team fights, and it works well.
Right on. Well, Firemana, thank you for the interview. Before we step away, I do want to give you an opportunity for any final thoughts, any shoutouts, any banter while you're on the desk.
Yeah, cool. First of all, FOFesports.com/merch. Store is open. Go buy stuff. Support Chris Sanga. Support FOF. And if you plan on leaving Yone open against me, just know that I'll slam it and I'll beat you with it. So you might want to start putting some respect on that pick, like you do with Jaffe's Gangplank.
Hell yeah, dude. All right, well, Firemana, thank you so much for this interview. Congrats on evening up your week at 1-1, and good luck next week. Folks, that's going to be it for our interview here. We're going to take a short break. We're going to switch out our casters, and we'll be back with the third game of the day. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.